Do you think there's something in marriage that we should absolutely avoid? Do you think love is the main thing that keeps marriages together?
It's not love. If someone finds a perfect marriage, send it to us as well. If the man is fire, the woman should be water.
What did you think of Huzma?
It's very beautiful, alhamdulillah. In other words, those who come to Bursa without seeing Huzma will have missed a lot, that's my opinion. It's a magnificent place. I loved it.
We are also very pleased. May Allah bless you. So we're starting with questions about marriage.
Of course, go ahead.
Based on your experiences, is there something you would definitely advise not to do in marriage?
Yes, don't lie. I say yes, the relationship continues. There's a man and a woman in it, but you must look at the relationship as if there's a third thing. The woman may be good, the man may be good, but their well-being depends on the nourishment of that relationship. Lies shouldn't be part of that relationship. Let's say your husband isn't complimenting you much, isn't buying a diamond ring, or the woman isn't very skillful, doesn't set up a perfect table gentleman. It's not a problem at all. Remove the lie from that relationship and leave everything else, and the relationship will still be good and successful. But if there's a lie, no matter how complimenting the man is, or how capable the woman is, the lie will gnaw at the relationship from the inside, like termites eating away at a tree. Have you ever heard of or seen tree worms? They get inside the tree and eat it away from the inside. This is the worst part. For example, I had a couch once, and its armrest was made of wood. A worm got inside it, and I kept hearing a ticking sound. I'd tap the wood, and the sound would stop, but it had already eaten away at the wood. Just like that. No matter how beautiful a family is, no matter how harmonious or lovely the couple may seem, if there's a lie, it will eat away from the inside, like those tree worms. And one day, suddenly, the relationship will collapse. You'll wonder, when did this happen? How did it happen? In the counseling room, when we decode it all, there's always one thing: you lied to each other a lot. We need to be truthful. Take the lie out of the family and everything else will remain. And that family, inshallah, will be a peaceful family.
Do you think love is the main thing that keeps marriages together?
No, love is not the foundation that holds marriages together, though you were expecting me to say love, sorry, but it's not.
What do you mean? Can there be marriage without love?
Here's what I say. Do both have a love marriage, meaning a marriage with emotion, but also a marriage of reason. If I say love, I'll be dismissing the other half. If I say reason, then reason alone won't be enough. You need both love and reason. But if the love we're talking about here is like alcohol, it's dangerous. If it's about forming a bond and the heart flowing towards someone, when described in this way, it's fine. But if the love starts intensely blinding you, there's a danger. You have to think carefully. But if it's balanced, a love that turns into affection, then it's possible, of course. But can there be marriage without love? Of course there can be. Why not? I didn't marry for love. Alhamdulillah, I've been married for 31 years and still love my spouse like the first day. There's no problem. But no, it wasn't love at first sight like in the movies. Don't get too influenced by them. Why? Because love is born from knowledge. That's why reason must always be present. If you know someone, you take an interest in them. If you're interested, love follows. But love is seasonal, like the flu. It comes and goes. But if it transforms, it can become something beautiful, like a sacred love, like the love of Layla and Majnun.
How can someone best get to know their future spouse during the first meeting? Can you give us some tips?
I'll tell you right away. This is a very important point. We've done a lot of work on this. Psychologically speaking, in the first meeting, look directly into the person's eyes. They say the eyes don't lie. And that's true. I'm talking to you with my heart right now, and my eyes aren't lying. No matter what my mouth says, when you look into someone's eyes, you should see sincerity. Don't stare in an overly intense way. Of course, just a glance for about 8 seconds, maybe even 10 seconds. But anything beyond that, and it becomes awkward. In those 8 seconds, the feeling you get in your heart, listen to that. I always say, yes, someone may recommend someone to you, or you may have met at school, or maybe your paths crossed by chance. But during this crossing, let your hearts meet. And you can only do that by looking into their eyes. I also recommend reading the 10th verse of Surah Al-Kahf during those 8 seconds. It takes about 8 seconds to read it slowly. After that, whether you look at them or not, it doesn't matter. Look into your heart. What does your heart say? Does it say, I feel peace? If it does, that's a good sign. But before this, make sure to research the person. Don't rush into a meeting without knowing anything. Have your family do a bit of research.
How can conflicts and crises in marriage be resolved most easily?
As long as no one confuses their role, crises can be resolved. If a crisis arises, men need to manage it. Women tend to stir up crises more often. I admit it. I tell my husband, I tell my sons. We, women, tend to create crises, and you men have to manage them. Why? Because the man is given the role of qawwam, meaning he's responsible for managing the household, leading. It's a crisis management role. Men have been given the role of managing crisis, while women have been given sakina. So, if one is fire, the other should be water. Who's the fire? If it's the woman, then the man should be water. If the man is fire, then the woman should be water. You shouldn't add fuel to the fire. You need to cool it down, not heat it up.
What would you do differently if you could marry again?
What an amazing question. I've never answered this before. It's very personal, so you're getting an exclusive response. I would do everything the same way. Except for the one thing I missed and emphasized today, those 8 seconds. I didn't give much importance to the emotional aspect, the love part, but did it not develop later? It did. Alhamdulillah, there was no problem. But spending the early years in arguments and heated discussions can be exhausting. You can get worn out by marriage, but thankfully, because of the work we did, we recovered quickly. You shouldn't miss out on the emotional side. I somewhat overlooked it, but I would do everything else the same. Even today, just like back then, I would give my husband a list of 25 conditions. I gave him a written list and said, if you agree with these conditions, then our paths can come together and there won't be any issues. At that time, we didn't have a frivolous engagement. He was studying abroad, and he went abroad again. We met once, exchanged letters 3 times, and once I sent my 25 conditions. I later published these 25 conditions in a women's book, updating and adjusting them for today's younger generation. If I were to do it again now, I'd still do the same, except I wouldn't have overlooked the emotional aspect. If it were today, I'd pay more attention to that, and that's why I emphasize it to young people now. Emotion and reason must go hand in hand.